Hello and welcome to EFL League One Hub, and today I'm going to bring you another podcast or a mini podcast, and today it's going to be on Matchday 36 predictions. And so let's get started, and we'll start with the Friday kickoff. Coventry vs Burton, 9th versus 11th, both mid-table sides. Coventry chasing the playoffs. Burton don't really have anything to play for now, really. They're quite a long way off the playoffs, and I don't see them making it. Anyhow, Coventry come into the game off a 1-0 win against Accrington. Burton come in off a 0-0 draw against Walsall. And yeah, I think the playoff hunting side in Coventry, who still have chances, but they're slim chances of making the playoffs. And so I'm going to go Coventry 2, Burton 0. Next game, AFC Wimbledon vs Doncaster Rovers. It's bottom versus 6th. Both teams really need the 3 points. AFC Wimbledon, obviously, because they're up against the relegation battle and are really up against it. 9 points off safety now. And Doncaster, obviously, still fighting for this playoff spot. So, yeah, both desperately want and need the 3 points. Wimbledon come into it off the back of a 0-0 draw against Shrewsbury, and Doncaster come into it off a 1-1 draw against fellow playoff champions rivals Charlton. But really, at the end of the day, I can't see anything but a 4-0 drubbing. I'm going AFC Wimbledon 0, Doncaster 4. Sorry to any Wimbledon fans out there, but I really can't see it going any other way. Next up is Barnsley 2, Accrington 1. Barnsley vs Accrington, just giving away my prediction already. 2nd versus 15th, Accrington in that close mid-table battle, but only 4 points off the drop, surprisingly. And Barnsley are obviously chasing Luton to try get title, but they'll settle for the automatics. I think if just getting promotion back to the championship for them. They both come in. Barnsley come into it off the back of a 3-0 win against Southend, a good positive win for them. And Accrington come in off the back of a 2-1 loss against Blackpool. A late penalty really decided that game. And then obviously Accrington couldn't fight back because their goalkeeper got sent off for throwing a bottle back into the crowd, which I think's a bit stupid because he's not gone to hurt a fan and the bottle's being thrown at him, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm going to go Barnsley 2, Accrington 1, as I accidentally hinted at earlier. Next up is Blackpool Southend, and it's 8th versus 13th, and really, we've just got to talk about the fans coming back, the playoff chasers. Blackpool are going to welcome all the fans back. It's quite easily be a sellout. I'm a Blackpool fan myself. I'm going to be there, and I think there must be less than 1,000 tickets left now. There was 1,500 about 6 hours ago now left, and so I won't be. And there was still queuing out the door, so we'll have to wait and see if it does sell out. But it'll be an amazing atmosphere no matter what. Southend haven't won in 5. Blackpool come into it off the back of the 2-1 win against Accrington, as we said. Southend come into it off the back of a 3-0 loss against Barnsley. And so those two past results, as well as the atmosphere combined, I think is just going to drive Blackpool on to win 2-1. So yeah, Blackpool 2, Southend 1 is my prediction. Next up, I think it's going to be Bradford versus Peterborough. Well, I know it's going to be Bradford-Peterborough. 23rd versus 7th. Both need the points urgently. Again, Bradford in the relegation scrap. Peterborough in the playoff hunt. Peterborough have lost 5 out of their past 5 games, but against a Bradford side that have a new manager in Gary Bowyer, who I really like, but the question is how quick will he be able to turn the tide there, if he can turn the tide there. Bradford come into it off a 5-1 loss against Portsmouth, but obviously they've changed boss now, and Peterborough come in off a good 4-2 win against mid-table Wickham. As much as I like Gary Bowyer, I don't see him turning the tide this quickly, and so I'm going Bradford 0, Peterborough 1. Next up is Gillingham vs Oxford, 18th versus 19th, a real 6-pointer, and there's a lot at stake in it for both sides. Both sides could slip into the relegation zone. Gillingham, if they lose, that is. Gillingham come in off a 1-1 draw against Fleetwood. Oxford come in on quite good form, actually. A 2-1 win against Scunthorpe, and before that a 1-0 win against Blackpool. So they're really on good form. However, I don't see that being enough to win this game. I'm going to go Gillingham 1, Oxford 1. I can't see either team really being better than the other for me. So, yeah, I just think it's going to be even Stevens come the final whistle. Next up is Plymouth versus Luton. 14th versus 1st, and the leaders are going to look to extend their lead at the top, if not maintain it. And Plymouth are in that tight group on 41 points, only 4 points off the drop zone, so they really need the win as well. Plymouth come in off the back of a 2-0 loss against Sunderland, and Luton come in off a 2-0 win against Rochdale. So it'll be really interesting to see how that game turns out. But for me, I don't see anything but a Luton win. I think they're going to have so much desire to keep this lead now. I can't see Luton losing to anybody for the rest of the season, maybe 1 or 2, but I don't see many being capable of beating Luton now. I think Luton, in my opinion, I do really think Luton are in such a strong stage to win the league now, and I don't see anyone else winning it. Next up is Rochdale versus Shrewsbury. Rochdale come into this game 4 losses in a row, and it's 22nd versus 17th, another real 6-pointer. Both teams need the points. Rochdale 5 points off safety, and Shrewsbury 3 points off the drop zone, actually. So Rochdale come into it off the back of a 2-0 loss against Luton, as was just mentioned, and Shrewsbury come into this game off the back of a 0-0 draw against AFC Wimbledon. But I think Shrewsbury are going to end up with another 0-0 to their name. I don't see either team breaking the deadlock here, and so I'm going Rochdale 0, Shrewsbury 0. Next up is Scunthorpe versus Bristol, 16th versus 21st, and another 6-pointer. Scunthorpe only 4 points clear, and Bristol only 2 points off safety. So again, another real 6-pointer. Scunthorpe come off the back of a 2-1 loss versus Oxford. Bristol actually come into this off a 4-0 win against Blackpool. Brilliant result for them. But I don't think form is going to play a part in this one, really. I don't see Bristol winning it, and I'm going to go Scunthorpe 1, Bristol 0. And now we're on to Walsall versus Fleetwood, 20th versus 10th. Walsall are 2 points off the drop zone and really need these points, but Fleetwood needs the points to keep up their slim chances of the playoffs. You might say, you're saying Coventry and Blackpool still have chances of playoffs, have realistic chances of playoffs, but they're still slim chances. But I think with their run of games, I think they've got an easier run of games, and 1 and 2 points makes a huge difference in the world of football. But Walsall come into this off the back of a 0-0 draw against Burton, and Fleetwood after a 1-1 draw against Gillingham. But I don't think it will be a draw. I think Fleetwood are going to nick it 1-0. And so, yeah, I'm going Walsall 0, Fleetwood 1. And I say final. Well, yeah, it's finally for this one, and I'll explain why later. But finally, Wycombe versus Sunderland. Wycombe have lost their past 4. Sunderland have won their last 3. It's 12 versus 3rd. Wycombe are on really poor form, and Sunderland could go into the automatics with a win if Barnsley lose. And they'll still have a game in hand. Wycombe coming off the back of a 4-2 loss versus Peterborough, and Sunderland coming off the back of a 2-0 win versus Portsmouth. And I think 2-0 is going to be the score again for Sunderland, and I think they're going to win again 2-0, so I'm going Wycombe 0, Sunderland 2. Right, I know there's another game. I know there's Charlton-Portsmouth. However, I have received a challenge to do 7 uploads in 7 days, or a podcast each day. And so I'm going to preview Charlton vs Portsmouth tomorrow as a match of the week game. So stay tuned for that. But that's going to be it for this episode. So thank you for listening, especially if you've made it this far. I'm very grateful. Please like and subscribe. That will be very appreciated, and maybe even share it about. But yeah, I've been EFL League One Hub, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.